All right, good morning, everyone. We're live. It's Sunday, March 2nd, and I got Chris Invest LYH here. Welcome, man.
How you doing?
Good. It's been a while, man. I know you've been super busy. So you've been dodging me. You didn't make the ORAD event. You didn't make the ORAD event, but maybe fill people in why you haven't been
Sure.
on in a while.
Yes, Mark tells me that I'm dodging him because I work a W-2 job, and then I'm also a teacher that takes about 3 nights a week of mine. And then I'm also handling my investments that Mark knows quite a bit about. We kind of grew a little too fast in 2023. We're still trying to stabilize that. And as a matter of fact, I was telling Mark that I got sick. I was supposed to go to an econ event in Tampa the same weekend that the event happened in Vegas, but we got sick and we had to cancel our trip. And as I'm like, I hit the peak, right, of where I was sick, and then I started coming down. I got a call from my property manager that we had a burst pipe. So I had to run down and play around with that for a couple hours in the morning. And it was stabilization can be fun with older homes. Let me just say that. But other than that, and then I go to school as well. I'm earning my PhD. So it's a couple things on top of each other, which means that Mark says that I'm dodging him. Can't hear you.
That's because the Patriots are terrible this year, so you're trying to
Wow.
avoid me. But but if anyone wants to follow Chris, go check out his YouTube channel. So there's a lot smarter information than I'm putting on, more economic data. That's why I always love Chris coming on. But so today's topic, we're hoping MJ jumps on. He was supposed to join us today, but I'm not sure where he is. But Chris brought up a great topic that is kind of maybe top of mind, I think, for a lot of people right now because it's easy to um, kind of be misled by the media or the data that's being put out there. So maybe briefly touch on kind of the topic you want to talk about today.
Sure. I just kind of thinking about economic truths that we hear and how a lot of them are on like the surface level. And what I think we wrote, it's called topsoil. And what that means is a lot of they are true. A lot of these things are true, but they're true given the assumptions that they were made when you learned about them, probably in an econ course. And a lot of those assumptions, they do hold or they do not hold outside of a classroom. And it's very difficult for some people to decipher some things when the assumptions that we were taught this under are not alive in the real world.
Cool. Hold on. Let's just MJ. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear
Maybe
y'all. Can
not.
y'all hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. All right. So
Yeah.
MJ's here. So we.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So we just kind of started. Chris has been filling us in with what he's been working on. I said he's been dodging me coming on my channel. Kind of like you've been a little busy, preoccupied, but you also weren't able to attend the One Rental at a Time event this year. You went year one. Maybe we can touch on that a little bit later. But Chris is kind of bringing up about his topsoil economic kind of viewpoint theory, maybe. And I know I sent that to you a few days ago. Have you kind of got a little information or your thoughts on Chris's viewpoint on it?
Yeah. So with the top, so I kind of got confused. I don't know what I typed it in Google and Chat GBT or whatever, and it kind of gave me some stuff about like farmland and
It would, yeah.
agriculture stuff like that. So I kind of had to, I guess, maybe reroute or rephrase the question to get the the idea that you wanted to talk about today.
Sure. Let me kind of talk a little bit about it. It's more of a metaphor for the topsoil is needed for growth of certain things like shrubs and some flowers, things like that. But in order to grow like something that can withstand a storm, like a tree, it has to go beneath that. It has to have roots in that are just a little bit deeper. And what I meant by this is that, like I was telling Mark earlier, is that the assumptions that we have, a perfect example of an assumption that we have in basic economics is we call it mobility of resources, which means that labor and capital can move. And that isn't always the case when we think about things in the overall market. A good example of that would be talking solely about tariffs. We hear a lot of media outlets talk about tariffs and how they're just a tax on the people. That is correct. But beneath the surface, what they're not understanding is that there's also a labor market component to that. And if the labor market is uncompetitive in one area, is it an equal playing field? And that's the kind of thing that I'm looking at when I say like topsoil. It's just that surface level truth that is correct in a vacuum. But I hate to use this term. If we were to look at a Venn diagram of tariffs and subsidies, they do cross over at some point. And in that crossover amount, that's where we're going to see that marginal change.
All right, before we move on, I want to say good morning to Sarah Garrett. She was one of the speakers at the event. So her nickname, we call her Sarah Goggins because she's very inspirational. So hopefully, Sarah, you'll be able to meet Chris and MJ at next year's event. They both attended year one. Unfortunately, they couldn't make year two, but Sarah was an amazing speaker. Everyone loved her story, and she's just so personable and doing amazing things out there. So go follow her on social media. And Big Andy's here from Ohio, and we have Aya Marie. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but they have a great message for us smaller content creators. Keep pushing, keep grinding, keep a positive mindset, and never lose focus on your goals. Let no one stop you, not even haters. That sounds like Sarah Goggins' message to us, maybe. But thanks for stopping by, Hyder. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, I totally agree. I think right now it's very confusing maybe for the average investor or someone who is not really, they're kind of just paying attention to the headlines, right? And it's easy to fall down that rabbit hole and kind of base your investment decisions on kind of what you're seeing in the media. So I know MJ, you kind of touched on it or messaged me a little bit about how maybe when you were younger or the beginning of your journey, it was kind of easy for you to kind of just follow what the media was saying and basing your investments on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You only know what you know, and you only know what you don't know too. So somebody tell you something, you're not, second guessing them or judging them or being critical of their thoughts or opinions. So yeah, it's like I heard you mention before in the interview podcast when you used to be a firefighter. You used to see things like this, and you was just running and just trying to figure it out. Now you kind of an experienced firefighter, so you see things at a more smaller angle, more slow pace, more logical standpoint. So I think it's just one of those things that it just comes with the territory. Like when we born and we babies and infants and smaller, we so naive and innocent to the world because we just haven't been slapped in the face or fell down enough times to really know, like, this a real thing. Like it's no more, being coddled or being at home with mom and dad. So
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because our chief came to talk to us one day after an incident to kind of hot wash things, and he was kind of mentioning that about how experience goes a long way. So he's noticing, a lot of the recruits when they come out, they've been trained to do something one way, or they've been trained, and it's a great way to do it. So, if you have a motor vehicle accident and you're trying to remove the hood to get to the battery to disconnect it, they were trained a certain way, but they don't even check if you can pop the hood first. So they go right into cutting it off and spinning it around instead of just checking first if the latch works and if they can open it without putting all this effort in, right? So a lot of times, like you're saying, experience comes with the territory, and it does help in the long run. So that's why a lot of times for the younger guys, it's good if they have a senior firefighter that can kind of show them those things. But even investing, right, like you're saying, being around a community that's ahead of you, behind you, but everyone is kind of learning. And I think that's what's great about this community. So Chris, for you, I mean, was this always kind of your vision too when you got in? Because you're a little more background in economics, so I don't know if this is the same story for your investing.
It is and it is not. So we've talked about this before, but I'll give a brief overview for the people who are watching today. I did own a business. I owned a couple of businesses in the past, and the reason why I own businesses is because you own assets. And what I found out is that I didn't really like the variable income day to day. So one day when we had the cookie shop, we had like $1,000 in sales. The next day we had 100. I'm not a fan of that. And I think that when a lot of people here know Mike Zuber and his channel and all that, and he talks about how the real estate market moves slowly. So when you have the economics background and you've already tried some businesses, you realize I need to find something where I can make those adjustments based on a longer income stream. So in general, I do long-term rentals. So I know my income for the year. I mean, you always have certain people, depending on the time of year. And if it's 2024 December when the entire country's freezing and everybody needs a little bit of relief on their rent because they can't pay their electric bill. But in general, you kind of have an idea of what that income stream will be, and then you can adjust and make your cost assumptions on that and see what your percentage that you're going to earn. So it was a long trip here, I would say. We did house hack our first one in 2018, and then we didn't get our next 9 until 2023, and that was based just on being able to. And in the meantime, we had a couple of businesses that we sold, and we said, you know what, we're just kind of done with this. I love people. I am not going to be in a customer-facing business ever again. And other people might love it, and that's perfectly fine. For us, it just wasn't something that we wanted to continue with that variable income. So I was looking for something where I could see the income stream coming in and being able to identify an area where I could create what an economist would call marginal value. And good morning, everybody. I see everybody saying good morning over there. So
yeah, we got Chester. I also put Hyder's channel in there. He's doing some entertaining. Well, I don't know, entertaining for me, but I think it's stressful for him in a sense. But he's venting a little bit on social media, so go check out his YouTube channel. But yeah, I think especially, you know, whether you like Trump or not, I think that is the struggle, because he says a lot of things. He throws things against the wall, basically, sees what sticks. So for a lot of people, it's hard to kind of keep up with the message or what he's trying to do. So for a lot of people, they might see it more as a distraction, right? So it's hard for them to maneuver. And do you guys feel that that's kind of maybe hindering your decisions moving forward, or you're kind of sitting on the sideline to figure out what things are going to look like for you guys? So maybe MJ, you can touch on that.
With the government and politicians and things, it's so volatile right now. Obviously, one person or one group of people could say this and definitely affect or adjust the market immediately, or at least do the Monday through Friday, typical market stuff like that. I feel like as far as real estate, is to buy and hold, like Chris was coming to, it's more predictability. Obviously, it depends on the market and area. Of course, you got some local variables that can change here and there, but for the most part, I think I'm in a good understanding that I know enough. Obviously I'm going to continue to learn. I don't know at all, but I know if with real estate, you just got to have the money, a good tenant, and know the numbers, know your rent box, know the buy box, things so that, and you can make it work. And like I say, things is never guaranteed, but that's a good, I feel like, a gauge to kind of get to it. So I feel like once I meet my standards and criteria of just having the money, finding a good tenant, then I'm gonna continue to invest in real estate for sure. And things changes, things fluctuates. It's always a low market. It's always a low season and a high season. So I'm not too keen on what they're saying, but I'm just looking at the bigger picture because I feel like I got the fundamental understanding of real estate down pack as far as buy and hold real estate.
Yeah, to your point, I think Chester makes the same comment. He goes, I don't focus on the macro all that much. I focus on my buy box, right? So I think that's super important. I think that's why a lot of us probably maybe um, prefer real estate, buy and hold real estate in a sense, right? I think as you're seeing the market, even crypto, it's so volatile based on the news or information out there, right? And it's easy for someone to kind of manipulate the movement of the market per se, right? So for Chris, well, what is your plans, I guess, with this topsoil information or whatnot that you're kind of breaking down for us right now?
I think that I am I'm going to do a little bit of writing on it and see what comes of it. And basically, what I want to do is I'm looking at my notes on either side here, is I want people to realize that the assumptions that we learned in Econ 101, they hold for certain truths. But in the real world, it's not always, the assumptions are not always present. And I think I gave a good example earlier. I think that another example would have been, do you guys remember the people who were saying that we shouldn't have Airbnbs in certain locations and that it would unlock supply so it would lower the price, and then that never happened? Well, in general, not the one-offs, but in general, Airbnbs are not entry-level homes. So how is that going to meet the demand for an entry-level buyer? So that's just like another way to look at this. Like, we just assume that supply increases, price decreases. But as we all know, since 2020, that has not happened. Now we're starting to see some of it in some locations, but I think Lance Lambert had a tweet recently where he broke it out by state. And I think of the 50 states, I think 7 maybe had higher levels of inventory than they did in 2020. I'm not sure the entire date, but only 7 out of 50. So yes, there are some locations. Now, the idea behind that would be, for somebody following the market, would be, are those metrics a trend? Now, we all know Florida and Texas may have overbuilt. One of the states was Colorado. I don't know. I would have to look a little bit more deeper into that. I do remember when I lived in Colorado for a while, we had a lot of California people, and I'm sure there's a lot more California people moving there. So I don't know, but I'd have to look at that. But I do want to touch on one thing that MJ brought up and that Chester brought up, and because you guys were talking about, well, I don't focus on the macro, I focus on my buy box. That's exactly what I wrote here, and it just says your daily decision making and your daily, I guess, study of your market. It's kind of like a burner on a stove. That needs to be your front burner. Your back burner needs to be those macro ideas. And then once you start seeing those bleed in, because you have to kind of do the other thing too, is you have to identify, is the information that you're getting from the media surveys, or is it actual point of sale numbers? Consumer confidence is a survey. I do not like where the direction is going in the economy. But then if you look at small business, like transactions, are they up or down? Because if they're up, then that means that I'm telling you that I am not happy about the economy. But in reality, my actions are revealing that I am still purchasing. And that's a concept that we have in economics called revealed preference, which means we can tell people one thing, but we can actually do something else. And it's just kind of these little tidbits here and there that you can kind of follow. I know, Mark, I've told you, and a lot of other people know, that I live across the street from a shopping center. And I look out there every day and I just kind of gauge the cars and all that. Consumption is not down in my area. Here, MJ mentioned that in area specific, that is absolutely correct. I'm a couple hours away from DC. Consumption is not down in my area. And I don't know if we're insulated because we are a college town or what. But it's just interesting to hear what I'm hearing on the national level and see what I'm seeing while I'm doing my dishes every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's even what outlet you're following, right? Whether you're looking at Fox News, MSNBC, whether you're looking at X, right? You're seeing so much different data points. But like you're saying, it's very market specific, but it's also just kind of, you kind of got to do your own work too, right? You can get
Right.
like you're saying, the topsoil information, but then you got to kind of look deeper to help you decide your investing strategy. So like you, MJ, we're talking about kind of media or topsoil information. What is your thoughts on maybe the headline of Doge, government efficiency and getting rid of waste, I guess? Like, are you seeing people out there kind of, getting in a frenzy about what Doge is doing, or is it affecting you at all on what you're looking for doing in the future?
Yeah, my understanding of Doge is a great concept, great idea. You skinning off those the extra meat, the extra fat on the chicken, right? On the food that you want to eat. That's the kind of comparison I'm making too. I think it's a great idea, and I mean, if they find inefficiencies in the government that can overall help us, financially, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a good idea. I think a lot of people, by default, obviously, reboot the idea because it's different. It's a change, right? Nobody ever really been this transparent or this highest power of government that we have to see this happening to fruition. So I think people overthinking and think maybe more than what it is. So obviously, it's just one of those things that a lot of people don't understand it, so they criticize it or talk down on it or critical about it. But I definitely think it's a great idea, and I mean, only time will tell for now. But for now, I definitely support the idea and the thesis behind it for sure.
Absolutely. Chris, what are you doing, man?
I was trying to get over to the chat because Chester asked what town. I'm actually in Lynchburg, which is the LYH and Invest LYH. And so when I started out my channel a while back, for any of the people who are new, I live in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I was going to decide to invest it here. So I just started finding homes on Zillow, and I started running through cash on cash calculations. And I would do it maybe once or twice a week, and I just continued. And now because I'm going back to school and then I'm teaching as well, I don't have the time to do it as much, so I don't post much. But yeah, it's just I started doing more about the economy, and it's interesting because those videos did not get many views. Cash on cash return ones did, which is perfectly fine. But yeah, you can see some of my older stuff on the YouTube channel. I've been a little bit more active on X and under my teaching profile than Invest LIH, and that's Econ Web. So in the meantime, Mark, what I was doing is I was trying to figure out how to get over there, and apparently I switched my camera around.
Yeah, that's all right. We're always figuring. That's what happens when we go live. But yeah, there's Chris's channel again, his YouTube channel. If you want to go check it out, and Hyder, you talked about dishes. So Hyder put Simon's wife's channel, and I think her channel is like it does very very well. It's like her washing dishes and things like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you just got to find your niche, and that was the great thing about the O'Reilly event. There's so much people looking to start channels and everything, but we can dig into that a little bit later. But I know, Chris, you did have a post on Facebook. It was kind of related to Doge and possibly the I don't know if they actually said $5,000 check. They might have said 20% or whatnot, but they were talking about giving that $5,000 check. And you kind of I forgot exactly what you said, but almost as if it's not new money and it's not as inflationary, right? That was kind of the main point behind it. What was the feedback behind or the comments on your post for that?
Let's see. Several journalists are suggesting the Doge rebate would be inflationary. Fundamentals do not back this up. This is not new money. I think they are pretty good from what I'm seeing. And I think that coming out of 2020, when we essentially deficit spent our way into getting money into the pockets of consumers, this is a little different because let's say the federal budget is like $7 billion and the amount that we collected in taxes is $5 billion. There is that $2 billion gap, right? Well, if they save $500 million of that, then it's still accounted for in that $7 billion that we would have outlaid as the government spending. And government spending going into GDP, which is what we use to kind of see what the demand schedule is for products and goods, is it's not going to change all that much because that savings, which I guess is only going to be 20% of that savings, they would provide to taxpayers. So it's not like we're increasing from the 7 to 7.5. We're staying at the 7, but it's reallocating it from the government portion to what we call the consumption and investment portion. And what what that does is every what we call marginal dollar, so every additional dollar that we would earn on top of our earnings is divided up into two different ways: consumption or savings. And those are what make up the GDP measure. It's consumption, investment, government spending, and then a net exports. So exports minus imports. And then if we gave the $5,000 back, it's not even like that full 5,000 would be spent right away. Some people would save it, some people would spend all of it, but in proportion, there's going to be some percentage there that would make it back into the economy. And one thing about that, sorry, I'm going a little bit long on this, is the consumption level that we would have would differ from each individual because all of our wants are different. Some of us would want to, some of us would not want to, but would be forced to replace a roof because of a water damage. And other people would use it on buying Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out if they were in California and smart.
So that was going to be my next question for MJ. So maybe you 10 years ago, what would you do with that 5K? And you today, what would you be looking to do with that 5K?
Okay. Well, I want to shout out everybody that's in the comments for sure. Buzz Toon, All Night Hider, The Weapon and Journey, Sarah. And I actually saw that interview you did with Sarah. When
She
I
made you
think that was
cry? Did she make you cry?
no, she didn't. But I mean, it was a good story, great story
Yeah,
for sure. But that was one of the first interviews you did coming back from the ORAD event, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah, good
yeah.
interview with
She's
her.
amazing. Yeah, she's amazing.
Okay. So your question is 10 years ago versus now. I'm 32 now. 10 years ago I was 22. When I was 22, I took a leap of faith. I went to Puerto Rico, knowing just one person to try to learn the Spanish language, which I did over time or whatever. So I wasn't a typical 22-year-old. With $5,000, I probably would have tried to pay some bills up or something. I would have did something positive. I wouldn't. I never had the mindset to just spend or blow money. I just was looking for guidance from anywhere, right? And so I think $5,000 would have just it would have been spent slowly. Surprisingly, it would have been slowly. $5,000 now for me. Obviously, I'm more educated about finances and real estate stuff like that. So I try to save as much as I can, if not all of it, going towards the next down payment or closing costs
Mhm.
to the next property for sure. To try to put that money to work to make more money or invest more in myself or get around like-minded individuals, communities, and stuff like that. So
So before Chris responds to Hyder says we would need a surplus to hand out checks without creating more debt. So yeah, for you, Chris. So I mean, 10 years ago, how would that 5K come in handy? And today, what would you do with it?
I probably would have rolled it into a business 10 years ago and trying to figure out a way. I probably would have rolled it into a marketing budget for a business because, in general, even if you have a good product or a good service, you need to let people know. So, and then I would kind of measure that and see where I would have had an increase in revenue based on each different type of marketing. Um, I will mention that everything that I said is economics. It's considered, if I remember correctly, I think it's considered positive economics because there's positive and normal. One has a judgment and one does not. And the one that I was speaking about the changes in the money, I'm not making a judgment on that. It's just what it is. Like it would not necessarily be net inflationary. As an opinion, do I think we should have a surplus before we do that? Yes. That's a normative statement. Or I'd have to look at those two up. I haven't looked at those two in a while, but there's two different types. So when you hear economists say things about like income equality, I don't know about you guys. I don't take all of my income and give it to somebody who then distributes it out. I don't understand the distribution of income arguments because it's more of a judgment as opposed to actual economics. The income that we all earn is based on the services that we provide that people use because we all have unlimited wants.
Well, you guys are much better than me. I would have blown that 5K in no time. I think. But definitely, but definitely today, yeah, like you're saying, I would, either some sort of investment strategy or like reserves or, but definitely, yeah, 10 years is a long time, and 10 years ago that thing would have been gone in no time probably. But Chris, you did kind of make a good point, and I was gonna say we was talking about the yeah. So I hope that if they do decide, or if they do have this surplus, or I don't know how you want to look at it, but these finding of waste, that yeah, they would pay down, the debt, all of it. But I'm also realizing that they have to show wins, right? And I think that's
Mhm.
where the majority are. They have to show that, hey, we found some of this thing, so we're going to give back a little bit, right? So I think unfortunately that's what's going to happen. Is they are going to distribute some of that money. I think
And
the
it's
wise
to
people.
I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off,
no,
to
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, man.
create trust and confidence in the people that didn't believe, or the people that's probably still skeptical and doubtful. That's a good way to kind of bridge that gap.
Exactly. So I think that's why it's going to happen that way. But for probably like all of us here, people in the chat, they probably would rather it not be distributed out. I mean, that's my assumption on it.
Yeah, and
Um,
ultimately, I would say if they could, if they would give us the choice of paying down the debt plus having lower tax rates, I would absolutely to see the everybody who is talking about these checks would say, let's do the second option of paying down the debt as well as lowering the rates. I just don't know if that would be able to fly. And this is a delicate policy balance that they're going to have to figure out. They're finding the things now, but eventually they're going to have to figure out how to express this to the American people.
yeah, so wait, 10 years, oh, here's the Hyder says, 10 years ago, I'll be shopping for a toy or a tool, fine line between the two. And then he says, yeah, Germany had an economic reset with most everyone starting at zero, and the affluent got rich quickly. So yeah, definitely. Like we're saying, right? It's people may be given this money, but not everyone's gonna use it the same way, and that's why all of us here are trying to get better and improve and figure out how we can become affluent, right? Or how we can grow our wealth so that we're. I think my biggest thing, and someone in school was talking about it. I think they're coming out with a YouTube channel, but they're really in that mindset of it's not about becoming a billionaire or even a multimillionaire. It's more if I walk into my job tomorrow and for whatever reason, like the federal government says, your job is a waste or not needed, and they decide to cut your position, are you going to be fine, right? Are you going to be okay? Are you going to have other income streams coming in? Are you going to be able to kind of survive for a while? So I think to me, that's the biggest thing. I'm hoping more people are starting to realize, especially with this kind of economic situation and turmoil we're in, right? Trump and Musk are throwing things all over the place, and hopefully people are realizing that, you don't want to rely on the government for much, right? If possible. So that's my take on it.
I was gonna say, like, and nobody's talking about from this angle. Say if they can just pay all the debt down or whatever, and not distribute the $5,000 check to every citizen American person. What if 5, 10 years ago the debt is reformed, or is there again? And it's like, then the skeptics is like, well, I could have took my 5,000, I could have took the amount they
Mm.
gave me and did what I want, because we still doing the same problem. And like the Wealth Building Journey saying, I think that's Chester. It is come down to mindset, because I think I'm obsessed with Squid Games for the be other the fact of the gambling aspect of it, because I used to gamble and stuff like that, so I really understand it, the mental aspect of it. And it's like, it was one part where this
That's what
guy.
that's
Oh,
where I
go ahead,
thought you
go
were
ahead.
going. That's where I thought you were
Uh,
going if you got 5K 10 years ago at first. I thought you were going to say I was going to hit Vegas and blow it. That's where I thought you were going. Sorry, man. Go finish up.
no, no. So it was a part on Squid Games where it was a guy had a lot of money, had, I think, like a lottery ticket or like some food or something. And it was like, poor people in parks and public places, and he gave them the option to, gamble with the scratch off, or you can eat to fill your necessity for the day. And like 9.5, I think 10 out of 10 chose the scratch offs, and they all lost. And he put all the food and all the sweets in the middle and just stumped on it in front of everybody. They was just like, well, why you not giving this to the people that really need it? And he was like, well, I gave them a chance. They chose to gamble, and they chose to
Mhm.
this so-called luck that they thought they was gonna be on their side to get more money to, and it just ain't work out. And I was just like, wow, that's the bigger message for me in that game. But it was just like, wow. So it comes down to mindset for sure. It's all about what you want to do, because you can give a poor person $100,000 and they might be poor again. You give a middle
Mhm.
class or somebody that's working towards something with financial freedom 100,000, they make 200 or a million over time. So it really comes down to mindset.
Yeah, Chris, to your point of like the topsoil or whatnot, but even higher dimensions, right? Like lower tax rate create higher tax receipts, and more people are willing to pay,
Right.
ironically, right? But people out there are going to think, no, we need higher tax rates, and that's how we're going to collect more tax receipts, right? So it's like that's the mindset of a lot of people out there, where they're just seeing this kind of A plus B equals C kind of information, where it's very simple, and it's actually you have to kind of look at the other behind the stories, or dig a little bit underneath to get more information out there.
And I
Yeah.
can piggyback off that and say that in economics in general, um, I'm reading a book right now on entrepreneurship, and it's an academic book, so I don't think anybody would really want to read it. But it talks about the idea that we there's an idea in economics called equilibrium, and if we're not in equilibrium, we're in disequilibrium, which means that the number of supplied goods does not meet the demand. And when we think about that concept with respect to entrepreneurship, the entrepreneur understands that, and what they do is they they find an opportunity there to make that little bit of value that brings that production of that's missing to the consumer. And when that's all of our jobs, we all do that in an extended way. Some of us maybe sell insurance. Some of us maybe work as firefighters. And what you're doing is you're providing for a want when the want occurs. And it's an interesting dynamic when we think about it in terms of just the overall market and what MJ was talking about. It allows for opportunity cost to play a role into our decision making. If we were to get the $5,000 today, and we were able to purchase a home that allowed us to have $5,000 of income 10 years from now, is that worth more to society than paying down the debt that just got ballooned 10 years from now? What's the opportunity cost for society and for us individual as we make it up? Those are the kinds of things that you when you mentioned that, MJ, it just really brought to my mind is like in finance we talk a lot about costs, but in economics we talk about, well, if there's four items that we can do with a certain resource, if we choose one, we're choosing to eliminate the other three. And I think that that's an area that earlier when I said the policymakers got to come up with this later, I think that's something that they are considering.
All great points. Dylan stopped by. I met him at the ORAD event. He's
Oh,
super awesome kid. I think,
oh.
I mean, I call him kid, but he's like 25. But he's doing some big things. I forget. I want to say Indiana, somewhere around there. But MJ, you should try and maybe connect with. I don't know how. I mean, he's probably still far away, but in that kind of somewhat. But there's his YouTube channel, so go check him out. He's doing like multifamily stuff, but he's doing some cool things. Even like crypto, right? I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. I think MJ, you might dabble a little bit in that, but crypto, it's so easy to also kind of, I don't know if manipulate is the right word, right? Oh, he's in Indianapolis, MJ. But
Yeah, no,
I
I,
don't.
I don't dabble in crypto,
Oh,
and it
okay.
is, you can manipulate it to an extreme. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and even people's reactions to it, right? Whatever the headlines is and whatnot, and it's easy to get people moving in a certain direction, and those that own the majority, right? It's easy to manipulate what the market is doing. So I think that's why for a lot of us, like real estate is kind of our bread and butter, and kind of slow and stable long-term rentals, building wealth. Whether it's multifamily, small multifamily, single family, but everyone is kind of going down that path, and that was what was so amazing about the one rental at a time event. I mean, I think I think I told you guys heading into it, I wasn't as excited for year two. I think I even told MJ, year three, I probably, wasn't going to go if it was at the same venue. But after going to year two, yeah, I'm guaranteed going. It was way better than year one. Definitely um, a lot more fun. I think the community is just coming together and growing, and it's just becoming more and more of a family. And then there's new people like Dylan, and things like that coming in. So I think it's a great place. So if you guys can make it, I know you guys unfortunately weren't able to do it. MJ, I mean, I don't know if you're willing to talk about it, but there was, some reasons, as far as the event being at the same place. The speakers a little kept under wraps. Are those things kind of, after hearing a lot of people's recaps of it, maybe is that still kind of a concern for you that it's still at the same place?
I would like I want to go to these events and meet people and stuff like that. What I mentioned previously to one of the bigger reasons why I didn't go was that it was in the same place. I like to try different places, see different sceneries and stuff like that. A truck drive Tuesday through Friday schedule, and in the winter, out the snow, get out those mountains and stuff like that. I just want to see, preferably, just a different scenery or whatever, and different speakers. And it's like, the information is so readily available. I'm a part of the ORAC community, the Facebook page and stuff like that. I can ask a question and have 10, 12, 15 plus responses and figure it out, versus traveling to Vegas, which is always a good time because it's warmer, because I'm coming from the Midwest, coming from Chicago. It's definitely needed in February for sure. But it's like, I would just want a different place, preferably, and some more different peoples. We hear the same stories kind of in and out. I could tell you Dion's story like it was mine. I can tell you Zuba's story like it was mine. I could tell you Lumberjack's story like it was mine. And shout out to those guys because I learned a lot. Millennial Mike, everybody within the community. For me, it's just I would prefer just a different location, whether it's like even California or South Carolina, just a different place to try to experience that, to take a vacation essentially too, because those are long days. It was 8, 10 hour days, Saturday and Sunday. And you got to really be broken mentally to, in a good way, right? There's nothing
No,
wrong with that because I'm obsessed with, assets and real estate as well. But, you might want to chill out and go somewhere, do it. But Vegas, we've been everywhere in Vegas per se. But I don't want to keep going. But yeah, pretty much, I would prefer a different location. Yeah.
no, I think a lot of people, felt the same way. Like I said, I kind of felt the same way. That's why I wasn't as excited for year two. And then, like I think I told you, yeah, if it's going to be in Vegas again, I wasn't planning on being there for year three. But now that I've gone, to me it was just way more fun. And I think it's just every year it keeps the kind of the maybe planning for it, right? When you arrive, when you leave, where you stay. So I think, we had a lot of people staying at the downtown Grand. Even though the weather wasn't the greatest for the Denny's nights, and Dion folks didn't show up, or Dion showed up on Wednesday, but he wasn't feeling well, so he didn't show up on Thursday.
How
But
was
I
the
think,
weather? How was the weather overall?
was it Thursday or Friday? I think it might have been Friday. It was storming. It was like the first rain I think they had in like 200 days or something. So like the strip was just flooded, and we were a group of people, and it was fun just hanging out. And but yeah, it was a good time. So like, yeah, like even Dylan said, the event itself wasn't his favorite part. It was networking
Mm.
with all the people there and making new friends, right? So, yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, I think a lot of people definitely heading into it, Vegas being at the same place was a concern, but I also think, because Zuber's not paying the speakers and everything, it just makes it a lot easier for him to have the same venue in a sense, right? It just kind of it's easier for him to hone in and make it better and better every year, right? Because it's at the same place. He knows what's there, the facility. So like, a big issue was like I mentioned, I was a big problem of this, but I made a lot of noise, probably, chit chatting in the back, right? So a lot of people had issues with that. So he's already looking at some sound curtains, I believe, that the blind center is going to be putting into to kind of mitigate some of that background noise,
Bears
but things
noise.
like that. What is that?
Bears
I,
noise.
I did see a Bears jacket though. I think did I send you that? Somebody had a Chicago Bears jacket. That's actually a Millennial Mike's agent, like Angelo.
that's fine.
So yeah, so that was cool.
A little
Um,
criticism to Zuber in the sense. He might get this, he might not,
no,
but it's like I'm gonna compare it to like dating. You got a girlfriend or whatever. You took her to Vegas twice. You want to take her to Vegas a third time? Let's try something different. Obviously it's easier said than done, and it's more easy on him. But be a little creative. Let's do something different. And we want different. We want new.
And I've
So
been for years
yeah.
trying to get him to come east. Come out east. Matt's already out here. If Millennial Mike is in Indiana, it's not that. I mean, he can take a look at his stuff and come down. Of course, I want it to be in somewhere in Virginia location, but that's besides
so
The
we have a
DMV.
special
Yeah.
guest real quick. He woke up a
Yeah.
little early, so you want to say good morning to everyone?
Morning.
All right,
Morning.
Morning.
give me 20 minutes. All right.
Aloha.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. He doesn't wake up for school, but he wakes up on the weekends. Yeah. Oh, see, Friday. Chester said it rained cats and dogs. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for putting them on. If the mom sees this, she's gonna be like, "What is he doing on the
Oh,
live?"
yeah.
That's all right. Year two, Hyder says, yeah, the networking was amazing. Oh yeah, so Hyder brought his son. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Oh,
So me and Hyder are trying to schedule something to get a live or something with his son and get his son's take of the event. What else was going on? Wednesday, I got one more, probably my last recap, but it's going to be with Jeff and Suleika, PTO for life. So they spoke on day two, which was great, and that's something else. They had a lot of slides, and I think people upstairs weren't able to see it. So that is something I think Zuber's going to take into account, where he's going to try and figure out a way maybe the people upstairs can see the slides better or whatnot. And then also the Frugal Gay is going to be on Wednesday with me and Jeff and Suleika. So people loved the story. I don't know if you guys, like, I want to remind people, Tom was on my channel a couple years ago before Zuber's. But the Frugal Gay is awesome. I think he was working in a movie theater. He was working at the Gap. That's how he kind of, he never earned more than, I could be wrong, but maybe 70,000 a year or 60,000 a year. But yeah, so he invests in Toledo, I believe, but he's in Texas now, and he sells like eBay. He sells like bras and things like that. So super cool story. So if you guys get to check the recap of the event, yeah, go check it out. Super awesome story. Yeah, Andy, there you go, being loud again. Well, Andy wasn't able to make it this year, so hopefully he'll be able to attend. And then I want to see him eat ramen with chopsticks. So if you guys haven't heard, that was probably the funniest part, is seeing Big Cody Evers. I don't know if you guys remember him from year one. Big, I don't know, 400 pounds, maybe 380, big O lineman looking guy from Indiana. But he tried to eat ramen with chopsticks, and that was like the funniest thing I ever saw. But he said he's going to be a pro by year three, so or next year's event. So that would be great. Yep. Oh, and Hyder also says it's in support of the Blind Center. So I
yeah.
think that's another reason why Zuber wants to do it there. But I know
The event center itself is great. I mean, that is a beautiful center. So
And then the internet and so much accessibility kind of make things, it's just like we get lazy. We supposed to stay home and see things on the computer and digitally network and stuff like that. That obviously it was no internet and stuff. And if you had to go out to Vegas, it'd be like cool, no problem. It'd be sold out, be 400 people in attendance. But now it's just like so many variables that can kind of almost give you the experience without being there too. So it's.
yeah. So if you guys haven't heard, Jack is trying to toss around the idea of maybe getting together an East Coast version.
Oh.
I don't know if he's actually sat down, or I know he's trying to get Zuber's input because he doesn't want to go above Zuber or anything. And
Mhm.
but I think that's something he wants to put on the table. And Jack thinks Pittsburgh's a great place to do it.
Would
So
you
that.
go, Mark?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Would you go?
I'll probably be there. Yeah, I mean,
If you're
um,
there, I'm there.
what do you mean if I'm there, you're there?
Because I
Putting
kind
the
You
of like
pressure on you.
Pittsburgh,
Putting the
but
pressure
you
on you.
invest there. So
you also told me you were going to be there
you should
this
be
year
there.
and you
It's
didn't
a
show up.
write-off for you.
You also told me you were going to be there this year and you didn't show up. Oh, I don't feel well. I have a
Well,
cold.
as MJ mentioned it earlier, there are reasons. As much as the YouTube influencers will tell you that there's no such reason as a failure, that is incorrect. Life consists of many reasons.
That is true.
And
That is.
if I had 104 fever, I can't get on a plane.
Oh, did you guys hear about Mikey also?
No, what happened with
No.
Mikey?
So Frank unfortunately had to cancel before the event. And then Mikey had to cancel also last minute on Sunday. Dude broke his collarbone riding a bicycle. Well, I joke
Wow.
around. I joke around saying he was learning how to ride a bike, but he was. We'll just say he was off roading and getting all crazy. But he jumped off the curb and his front wheel got stuck and he flipped over the handlebar. Yeah.
Is he okay?
I told him rub dirt on it. Back in my day, we would just rub dirt on it. No, he broke his collarbone and a couple ribs, so he was bummed, man. He was so looking forward to it. So not having Frank and Mikey there, there was actually people that were thinking about canceling after they heard, that kind of in that little group of
Really?
people that, they were really thinking of not showing up just because they were kind of excited to see, Mikey and Frank. So
Let me see your belt, Mark. Your belt
ah,
Zuby gave you.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to. I'm
And
still
while you
trying.
do that, I'm gonna shout out to Chester. Chester, you are correct. It is beautiful in our little latitude right now. I'm like 3 hours, kind of a little southwest of DC, and these past few days have been phenomenal. So we would not freeze our butts off in DC.
Yeah.
All nighter hider, I see you over there.
That would actually be a good idea. Somebody was saying a East Coast meetup in the summer and the West Coast meetup in February. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out here. I know the first year, the guy who leads our Lynchburg Aria,
Oh, there you go.
you
It's
wanted to go.
heavy. It's
Oh, there
heavy.
you
I
go.
told
Yeah.
everyone at the airport
Wow, that's nice.
I
That's
won it on
nice.
Fremont at the midget wrestling championship over the weekend. Yeah, they kind of believed me though. I said, yeah, you guys didn't hear about it on Fremont. They
So,
had a midget wrestling championship. But
do you remember the NWO
yeah,
from WCW Wrestling? Whenever I see that belt in Pittsburgh, when you guys come out to Pittsburgh, I'm going to spray paint on it like the NWO, but I'm going to do the Patriot symbol right across the front.
That's a nice belt though, Mark. Is it really heavy? You got some weight to it?
no, it's like a legit belt. I mean, it's heavy. So if you guys don't know, Hyder received one, definitely well deserving. Jared, I don't know if you guys know Jared. Jen received one, but hers was actually from year one.
What's on
Yeah,
this? It's your picture, your name. What's exactly all on
Yeah,
that?
it just says one rental at a time. It says Go Giver, has my picture, and then your name.
Okay.
Who else got it? Somebody else? Wait, Jared Hyder, Jen. Oh, well, Frank was supposed to get one, but he wasn't there. And I don't know. I never met the other individual. It's like one of Zuber's, I guess, longtime supporters or friends. But yeah, so I forgot who that
Did
was.
all the speakers get one too again?
So they got a ring this year. So they got like a championship looking ring. So I don't know if you guys heard. So go watch my recap on Zuber's channel that we discussed. What he's also thinking about is for the coming events is that people that received, so like me, Hyder, Jared for this year, we will get to have input or select. Oh yeah, Chester got one. I forgot. How did I forget Chester? Yeah, Chester got one. Yeah. They were all crying. They were all crying on stage when they got theirs. Bunch of sissies.
You was the only one that held it up tight,
No,
right?
no, I was the one crying. They weren't crying. I was tearing up. But Yeah, so he said for the coming events that we'll have input on who we think deserves the award or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be a belt again, but he thinks so we'll have input. I mean, he has the final decision, of course, he said, but so anyone out there, I'm taking money. If you would like to receive anything in next year's event, just let me know and I'll take a Venmo or PayPal and I'll put your name in.
Oh
Also,
man, is that a championship belt
yeah,
tariff?
exactly. But so did you guys get a chance? I know probably MJ you didn't get to yet because I didn't give you. But anyways, so you guys know who the speakers were yet? That were at the event? Did you guys get a
No,
chance
I
to
just
see?
know of Jeff and
Not all of
Suleika
them.
and Lumberjack and his wife.
Okay. Well, so you guys know that Graham Stephan was there though, right?
I did
Okay.
see that.
Oh
What was your
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
what was your guys? So that one, I don't same thing. I don't know if you guys know the whole story though, but Zuber said like, he threw it out to Graham, months ago, and every time it was like 5%, Graham told him, usually we're out of the country, usually we're not going to be here, but I'll give you a 5% chance. And Zuber kept following up with him and it kept being 5%. And maybe about a month before the event, he was like, you know what, I'll give you 20%. Things are not working out and I may be there. And Zuber was there Friday, the week before the event, starting to get things ready, set up. And then on Tuesday or Wednesday, Graham called him and said, I can make it. So even Zuber, so I don't know, he didn't exactly go into details what his backup plan was, but he didn't find out till like Tuesday or Wednesday that Graham Stephan was actually going to be able to attend. So, what was your guys' thoughts on that, hearing that Graham Stephan was there?
I did see that because I did watch that video of you and Zuber, and um, I think it was Andy. He may have mentioned the networking, or maybe it was
Yeah, probably
Dylan.
Dylan.
The networking. Networking is so critical in life. Leave real estate behind. I'll give you an example. I recently talked with a local college, another local college, about helping them with adult education, teaching people who are working right now how to use Excel. And the lady, she's like, well, send me over your resume, we'll talk. And I sent it her over. And then I also sent her over a class. And I said, this is how I would have taught the class. It's just a quick video of what I did. And she was so happy with that. She forwarded my resume to the guy who hires econ teachers. And he reached out to me. I didn't know she was going to do that. I didn't even know they were hiring for that position. And he even told me, he said, they're not hiring until August because she's retiring. And just kind of having the ability to find the people that you know, but be able to utilize them in a certain way. There's a lady that I know who invests here in Lynchburg. Her son came here to go to school for aviation. Then her other son came. Then her other son came. She bought a bunch of townhomes every time they came. And what happened is now she lives in Colorado. She texts me all the time. She's like, hey, who do you know who's looking to buy a townhome? So I just send it out to my investment group and I'm like, who's looking for this? I get the numbers. Obviously, I run on myself first, right? And then I send it out and I'm like, and I ask all the right questions for her. I'm like, well, will you finance? What is the income? What are you doing for insurance? Things like that. So I can send that out to other people. And it's a way for me to be able to grow my virtual network beyond just the meetups that I have here in Lynchburg. What did somebody say here?
Yeah, so if you guys haven't heard too, so like Lars, who was investing in Delaware, he's actually pivoting to Pittsburgh to start looking for investment properties. And even Harrison, Trade Better 99, who's in Virginia, was investing in Ohio, is actually going to probably be pivoting to Pittsburgh also. So like you're talking about networking.
Why don't we have a whole Pittsburgh group where we all go there? I love
they're
that
not committed
town.
to being there probably. but Hyder said,
I'm lobbying for
well,
Pittsburgh. That's what I'm doing.
Mikey would be the representative there then, Mikey and Jack. But Hyder says Mark Moss.
I wouldn't be exposed to going either.
Yeah, I heard it's amazing.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, Hyder says Mark Moss talks about 3 forms of capital currency knowledge, and and network capital. Oh, three forms of
Mm.
capital: currency, knowledge, and network capital. Get two, and the third will follow. Yeah. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's the one thing that a lot of people don't quite realize, right? I mean, it's the networking and getting people, and that, that's the one thing also great about the event is that people are networking, but no one is really trying to sell anything. Where, sometimes you go to events and people are networking, of course, but they're also trying to sell you
Mm.
something or pitch you something. And at this event, it was just completely different. People just really wanted to know what you're doing, kind of, hey, let's keep in touch, or maybe you can help one of my friends that's in that market or thinking about investing there. But that's the amazing thing about this group is everyone is really, really just out there trying to support one another. And like I said, all of us that are trying to start YouTube channels and things like that, everyone is just super supportive, and I think that's what's just great about this community.
Mark, can I touch on that real quick too? Because you were talking about networking and sales, and I think if anybody who is in sales knows that the best salespeople are the ones who identify a solution to people's wants and needs, right? Well, when we're at these events like the ORAD event, we already have that connection that where we want to be is we want to be investors. Now, the way that we go about doing that is very different. But by talking to other people, and this comes up to what MJ said earlier, you're talking to people who are experienced in certain areas, and you're being able to identify certain solutions beforehand. And the people we talked, somebody mentioned Cody here, right? Cody is he is a sponge for talking to seasoned investors and identifying what they've done. And then what he does is he applies it. And if we have an area where we can go and we can talk to other people who have either similar situations or situations where they just have a little bit more experience and they can kind of help us out, it is so valuable. And I just wanted to say that after you mentioned this, because you're right. It is like a sales conference without the sales. People are just helping each other find solutions to different things.
Yeah, to that point, Millennial Mike, I met him on a couple of occasions and stuff like that. He really helped me get my second rental property because I asked him a critical question. He was able to answer and give me his opinion on how he would go about it. If I didn't know him or know that connection, maybe it would have took me longer to get my second rental property. So he was like, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
if I was you, I would do it this way." And I actually did it that way, and I'll end up able to get the property from his advice because he's more seasoned and experienced than I am.
And in my experience, and I think in both of yours, the seasoned investors, they want to share this stuff. It, it's I can understand though the difficulty that some people have, because a lot of people do want to share things online, but then they want you to buy their course.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
But there is some give and take there as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to finish up, but the other thing, Zuber, great thing for his event was he really is trying to focus on couples now, I think. And that was one big takeaway. There was a lot of couples. So if you guys, same thing, if you guys haven't heard, it wasn't just real estate. There was people talking about health. The guy, Dr. Jeffrey Gross, I believe. And then the pastor, Fred Ledbetter, I believe. But anyway, those are probably a lot of people's favorite speakers, that the mindset and whatnot. So yeah, it was great, and I think a lot of couples came out of it a lot stronger. I don't know if you guys heard. I did a live with Rusty and Katie. They attended the event, and Rusty's just a dude just works nonstop. But the wife, the Katie, kind of gave him a 5 year plan, like, hey, you have 5 years to make this work. And then after the event, she's like, all right, you got 2 more years. She's on board now, so you got 7 years now. But I think it was really helpful for a lot of couples that went. And like even Lars said his wife is a little bit more on board now with what they're doing, and she wants to be more involved. So yeah, I think it was a great event. I think a lot of people that went, first time, second time, enjoyed it. I think hopefully, you guys can be there. Hopefully Jack can figure out how to get this second event going, or East Coast event or whatnot, get closer to you folks. But yeah, anything else you guys want to say before we wrap things up? No, no.
Really, just thanks everybody for watching and for watching over an hour. I appreciate that. I know I'm not on here as often as I like to be, but
Yeah, you only come on in non-football
no,
season.
that's right. That's
Hey,
right.
we all got our
When Mark
variables. We all got our
cheering
variables.
for the
No, because he doesn't want
that's
to.
right.
The
That's right.
Patriots are so bad. He doesn't want to show up. He-
Hey, Chicago
They're
and
gonna
New
get Travis
England.
Hunter now. You better
oh
watch
man.
out.
All right, MJ. Any final words?
No, thanks for having me, Mike. Thanks. Nice talking to you, Chris. Thanks for all the support,
Yeah.
the comments in general. Let's get more education. Let's get more educated. Let's take a little bit more risk, and let's try to figure it out for us and our significant others and family members. So the ball is in our court more than ever. So let's take more control of our finances.
Yeah, great final words. Like you said, you kind of gotta just be able to block out that noise and filter it and just figure out how we can all win at this, right? So yeah, awesome guys. We'll do it again. Thanks everyone.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.